Uh-oh. Okay, we'll start with this. Another look at Skye Nicholson's ring return against an opponent that has yet to be announced and a potential drop to the super bantamweight division. I got my reservations about that. I don't like the optics. It looks like they ran you out of the division. Nicholson returns on the undercard of Jack Catterall versus Harlem Eubank, which takes place at the Manchester Arena live on DAZN. It will be Nicholson's first fight since losing her unbeaten record and her WBC World Featherweight title in March to the American Tiaria Brown in what was Skye's native Australia. Nicholson has stated her intention to drop down to super bantamweight to win a world title in a second weight class. The fight in Manchester will be the first fight on the road to what Nicholson hopes will end with another world title around her waist. The defeat to Brown that ended her world title reign was a shock to many. Nicholson was a big betting favorite to turn back the challenge of the unbeaten and vocal American, but Brown defied the odds to upset Nicholson. It has prompted the Aussie to seek new challenges at a new weight. It's a new challenge, a new weight division. It's something to kind of set my mind on, Nicholson said in May. Nicholson lost her world featherweight title in her third defense, a fight of wafer-thin margins. The initial expectation was that Nicholson would get an immediate rematch, and it wouldn't be that hard to imagine Nicholson making the required adjustments to turn the tables in the rematch. But while Nicholson still wants a rematch, the American is now going elsewhere. Nicholson has somewhat reluctantly moved on also. Due to her elusive southpaw style, there is probably a perception of Nicholson that many form in their minds, but I remember her trainer, Eddie Lamb, once telling me, "Don't be fooled by how she looks. Believe me when I say, Skye Nicholson is never happier than when she's punching someone in the face." Nicholson had over 150 amateur fights, a little statistic many forget. I think that's a testament to the situation, that while Tiara won the fight, she isn't back yet, and there is no tentative fight news about a return date, while Skye is already on her way back with a fight that's announced. With a fight date. I believe that Tiara is still being promoted by OTX. Not sure if she'll parlay that into maybe a co-promotional deal with MVP. I could see that happening, but as it stands, it hasn't happened yet, whereas Skye is already back. The second chapter in her career begins in Manchester, and with the pain and frustration of that upset loss to Brown in Australia still lingering, it could be the making of her in some ways. Nicholson will know what went wrong in Australia in March, and she could return a better fighter as a result of that first professional defeat. Sometimes you do need a setback to realize that certain things need to be fixed. Too many fighters are written off when they lose, but at 29, Nicholson certainly shouldn't be categorized like that. The Aussie has got incredible self-belief in her abilities, and you sense one defeat won't change that. If Skye Nicholson can make the weight and fight effectively at Super Bantam, and with a few minor adjustments, there is every chance she will indeed find success on the world stage in her new weight division. And I don't like the optics of it, I've said that before. Being honest with you, I think Skye stands a better chance of becoming a two-time champion staying at feather than moving down to Super Bantam. The move down to Super Bantam. There are three champions at Super Bantam. Unified champion Ellie Scotney, who just signed to MVP, Yemi Mercado, who is about to unify titles with Ellie Scotney, and newly crowned WBA champion Mayeli Flores, who's set to be going into an immediate rematch with former champion Lerena Romero. The fighters that she would have to go through to win a belt at 122, I think she'd be better off staying at 126. I think she'd be better off fighting Nina Menka than challenging either Ellie Scotney, Mayeli Flores, or Nazarena Romero if she beats Mayeli Flores in their rematch.
Wait, so you don't think Skye beats any of those girls?
Not till she learns how to handle herself mid-range to inside. When you think about Mayeli Flores or Nazarena Romero, they're both come-forward sluggers, they're both pressure fighters, they're both inside fighters that would fight a fight similar to the fight that Tiara Brown just fought.
They'd come right at Skye Nicholson, so she'd be back up Schitt's Creek without a paddle, and until she learns how to handle herself on the inside, it would just be more of the same. Hell, it might be worse.
Look at what she endured at the hands of a 37-year-old Tiara Brown. Mayeli Flores, Nazarena Romero are several years younger than Tiara, and they're gonna go right at Skye. Without the output, and without the punching power to fend them off, it could be even worse if she ended up fighting one of them. Then you think about Ellie.
Ellie is adaptable. That's one of her strengths. She's a chameleon in there.
She can be whatever she needs to be to beat the girl opposite the ring, and from what I've seen, Ellie's a lot better in the pocket and a lot more comfortable in the pocket than Skye Nicholson, so I think Ellie would also take it to her.
I think that Skye Nicholson stands a better chance of beating IBF featherweight champion Nina Menka than beating any of them. Beating any of those girls down there at 122. I reiterate, I think Skye needs to stay put. I think she needs to go after Nina.
I never liked the optics of leaving the weight class after her first professional loss.
Just one man's opinion. Feel free to disagree.
Bill Haney's here. He's in Brooklyn. Has he rang you?
Yeah, he rang me the other day. Told me he's in New York. We're going to meet, I think, tomorrow.
What do you think of this Lopez Haney thing? Was it just fruition? Was it media hype? Is it a fight that you'd like to see
think
next?
that Devin probably spent most of the Ryan Garcia 2 money already, and now obviously the fight's not happening. So Devin and Bill will want to get a big fight moving. So when the Ryan Garcia fight fell through, they're thinking, who are we going to fight? And obviously the opportunity to fight Teofimo presented itself. Sounds like they were all in, but Teo had other plans.
I said I'm on my way. I'm coming to Brooklyn, and I'm looking for Teo and the senior, and I'm going to see what you're scared of. And I'm walking so I don't miss nothing or nobody that you know. I'm looking for Teofimo Sr. and Jr. and whoever condoned this. I'm on my way. I'm looking for Teofimo Lopez Sr. and Jr. Well, you see, it ain't starting out good. You said you was from Brooklyn, so I want to see what makes a man that represents Brooklyn say that he ain't with it. I'm on my way.
Bill Haney is combing the streets of Brooklyn, looking for the Lopez's. Personally, I think he's looking in the wrong places. I've long maintained that TL being from Brooklyn was a marketing ploy. He's actually more of a Floridian than a Brooklynite.
I don't know what amount of time he spent in Brooklyn, but I don't imagine it was very long. He never really struck me as a native New Yorker, but they wanted to base him out of there when he was fighting at the Hulu Theater.
TL balking on the Devin Haney fight has left the Haneys in a compromising position because they don't have that many options, but they do have a long list of demands. They want to make a certain amount of money every time they get out there.
For that, you need the dance partners, and they're all out.
Ryan is out of the picture. Rolly Romero would rather fight the winner of Barrios versus Pacquiao than fight Devin. And with all of the Breakfast Club kids out of the picture, that only leaves Devin with the rest of the welterweight division to contend with. Not little guys who moved up like he did.
Devin largely benefited from having generous physical dimensions for a lightweight when he was still campaigning in the lightweight division. He had a lot of height, a lot of length, all of which lended itself to his outside fighting, sticking the jab out there and managing the distance. That will become harder to do as the guys get bigger. I think we caught a glimpse of that in the Ryan Garcia fight, Osterin aside.
It's one of the only times I can remember Devin was fighting somebody that was taller than he is.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
You know Teofimo Lopez Jr. or Senior? They said they from Brooklyn, and I know y'all know everything. Y'all be seeing everything.
Oh no.
You don't know him?
We're just learning.
He had on that at the last fight with Devin. He did. Y'all know it's. Yeah. See, Teofimo. Don't nobody know you. Even they don't know you. But I'm gonna continue looking for you. I'm going back to the bridge. I done walked across the bridge. I done went to Gleason's, and listen. Let's pray for Senior, because I hope he didn't jump off the bridge. Ain't nobody seen him. Stay tuned.
Bill hopes to shame Teofimo Lopez with these shenanigans, going to Brooklyn in search for him, to turn the audience at large against him. I don't think it's going to work because Devin's performance was so bad against Jose Ramirez, he's not going to get any sympathy.
Yeah, Lopez doesn't want to fight you, but people don't want to see you fight. Not after the Ramirez fight, they don't care.
To make matters worse, Devin is a free agent. He's not attached to anybody, but that also means nobody's attached to him. Nobody's obligated to do fights for him, give him a contract minimum. He wanted to be a free agent.
Well, you're free.
Turkey LL Sheik recently said that moving forward, they cannot support any Tom and Jerry kind of fights. They can't support these runners. And unfortunately for Devin, I think he had him in mind when he said that. Not just William Skull, but Devin too, as Devin's performance got just as many complaints as Williams.
So if he's out of the picture for Ring Magazine shows and Riyadh Season shows, that only really leaves Matchroom that might be willing to work with him. But what options can Matchroom provide him in the welterweight division? Because he can't make lightweight anymore or super lightweight. So at welter,
Outside of Jaron Ennis, who is now said to be leaving the welterweight division, they don't have many options for Devin.
and without Devin making a commitment to them, I don't know that they would make a commitment to him. The most I can think of is maybe they can line him up for one of Boots' 2 vacant titles, provided that Boots moves up.
But even with that, that still doesn't provide him high-profile fights, high-profile opponents that would get him the kind of money that he's looking for. Now, on the panel yesterday, it was Leo who stated, Devin might take the rest of the year off. If he can't get things his way and make the kind of money that he wants to make, he might sit out for the remainder of this year. And that doesn't sound far-fetched to me. Remember that last year, he was under orders to fight Sindor Martin, but because nobody put big money up to do the fight, he vacated his WBC title.
He could have come back sooner after the Ryan Garcia fight. He chose not to because there was no big money in it for him.
So when I think about that, and I think about this, a scarcity of high-profile opponents, thus a scarcity of big paydays.
He might sit out. It's hard to imagine he's going to fight for peanuts on a dollar.
Teofimo Lopez definitely dealt a critical blow to the Haneys. If you want to call it a duck, you can. I do. Turning down a guaranteed fight with Devin for guaranteed millions so that you can maybe land a fight with Lamont Roach, that is a categorical duck. But even if it is, it doesn't improve Devin's situation. The crowd is unsympathetic to his plight. Many of them don't care if he boxes or not. Many of them don't want to see him.
Up Schitt's Creek without a paddle.
In men's heavyweight news, it was announced that Lawrence Okolie will be facing Kevin Lerena for a WBC Silver heavyweight title on the undercard of the upcoming rematch between Alexander Usyk and Daniel Dubois. Initial impressions, I like the fight. Think it's worth a watch.
I think Lawrence Okolie has proven himself a much more entertaining fighter now that he's left the cruiserweight division and he doesn't have to boil down anymore to make that weight. He's fighting with a pep in his step, and he's a lot more explosive, letting the backhand go.
Coming off a 2 highlight reel knockout wins over Lukas Rozansky and Hussein Muhammad on the bounce after his majority decision loss to Chris Billum-Smith at cruiser, Lawrence is back in the winner's bracket and he's campaigning as a heavyweight.
Joining him is Kevin Lerena, who's moving up from bridgerweight back up to heavy for this fight.
Lawrence Okolie sports a professional record of 21 wins with 1 loss, no draws, 16 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 22 professional bouts. The former WBO champion at cruiser, WBC champion at bridger, now he aspires to become a champion again at heavy.
Can he do it?
He's got to go through Kevin Lerena, who sports a professional record of 31 wins with 3 losses, no draws, 15 knockouts, having been knocked out once in 34 professional bouts. The current reigning WBC Bridgerweight champion,
Kevin Lerena ended up fighting for the vacant Bridgerweight title after Lawrence dropped it to move up to heavy.
revealing just how useless the WBC's experimental division between cruiser and heavyweight has turned out to be. I always said that what makes a division move, it's not manufacturing alphabet titles.
It's not an assembly line of belts. It's the names, because the names bring the money. And with no big names in the Bridgerweight division, there ain't no money. So the fighters that are there, like Kevin,
They're going to go where the opportunities are, and the opportunities are not at Bridgerweight, because bear in mind, he's WBC Bridgerweight champion. But there's more money in it for him fighting as a contender at heavy than reigning as a champion at Bridger. Now he is so confronted with Lawrence Okolie.
Lawrence is noticeably taller and noticeably longer than Kevin Lerena, who's a modest-sized fighter for these weights. I think Kevin stands in at about 6'1", which is
Little.
small for these weights, whereas Lawrence,
I think Lawrence stands in at about 6'5". Lots of reach, lots of wingspan.
lots of power.
Lawrence is an orthodox fighter, whereas Kevin Lerena is a southpaw, last in action earlier this year in May against Sergey Repchenko.
That was for the WBC Bridgerweight title that Lawrence Okolie left behind. Lawrence was last in action in December of last year against Hussein Muhammad.
In what was Lawrence's Queensberry Promotions debut and his heavyweight debut after he jumped ship from Boxer over to Queensberry. I remember when he was with Boxer, Ben Shalom used to say that he's depleting himself by boiling down to cruiserweight, and if he moves up, we may see a different Lawrence Okolie. Time has proven him right, because he is fighting with a pep in his step. He is more explosive.
And he's got a live one in front of him in Kevin Lerena, because don't forget, this is the same Kevin Lerena who dropped Daniel Dubois not once, not twice, but thrice.
If he can get in on Lawrence the same way that he got in on Daniel, things could get interesting, because don't forget, Lawrence is still a newbie to this weight. He's only had one fight as a heavyweight, and it was against a nondescript fighter. This is an acid test.
Kevin has more experience at heavyweight than Lawrence does.
He's been in there with Bogdan Dinu, Sanat Gashi, Daniel Dubois, Justice Haney. He's got more experience at heavyweight than Lawrence does. And Lawrence is one of these guys with really long arms. That can be a hindrance depending on where the fight is being fought. Kevin Lerena presents a very small target that fights out of the southpaw stance. If he gets inside on you, he'll be able to connect punches before you do, because he's got shorter arms.
Lawrence can't let that happen. He's got to mow this guy down. What he did to Lukas Rozansky, he has to now do to Kevin Lerena. Jelena Marjanovic. This is an acid test for Lawrence, his first real litmus test as a heavyweight.
They gave him a patty cake the last time. They're giving him a live one this one.